not talking about an identification parade. I'm talking about the identity of the perpetrators. This witness said he read the statement. After having read the statement, he then went on to interview those witnesses who were in their house, who are telling a story about these perpetrators. So there's no way in which this does not serve this court, because at the core of what the state has brought to this court is the identity of the perpetrators. Thank you, my lord. Now, that was just by a very brief discourse on what the prosecutor would do when confronted with a matter that involves the identity of a perpetrator. Thank you. Now, it doesn't look to me, and I'm saying this with the greatest caution because I wasn't there. I'm trying to discern, I'm actually trying to discern it from your answers. It doesn't look to me like there was much effort that came from the joint military team, from the joint team, that is yourself, from members of the subs, and the team of the prosecutors to probe Ms. Makumalo. I'm saying what now on Ms. Makumalo, to probe on Makumalo on whether or not she be able to identify the suspects or any of the suspects as one of the perpetrators who got into the house. But nonetheless, let us get into a statement.
So, you want us to go to the statement or should I respond to these utterances?
That was just by way of introducing you to the fact that you are going into her statement.
All right.
Thank you.
Noted, my lord. But what I would like to say while we're going to her statement is that firstly, my lord, and I did indicate this, the identity of the suspects, starting from accused 1 and 2, came by the way of Mr. Absalom Zungu, Constable Zungu, and then subsequently his father. We did not rely on the witnesses of the people who were in the house to identify the accused. Now, subsequent to us getting to accused number 2, my lord, that exhibit HH and subsequent to JJ led us to again accuse 1, 2 himself, 3, 4, and 5. It was then supported by statements around them. So that is how the accused were then identified in this matter. So it wasn't, because I seem to be getting an impression from Advocate Nisi, and that's what I'm trying to explain, that it wasn't that after we analyzed the docket, now we had to sit with the witnesses in order for them to help us identify the perpetrators. Investigation was done, they were identified, there was then a consultation. That's why I said at the time when Mrs. Kumalo met us, the train had left the station because the accused were already identified. It was just to clear certain aspects during that consultation.
Manje ke kulo daba ke angisho ke labo ke abamangalela noma abasolwa ke uqale kwaba uyena lo Constable Zungu kwazoba ubaba wakhe ke ubaba Absalom Zungu la khona ke kuzovela khona ke nokukhonjwa umsolo wokuqala kanye nowesibili. Sesifika manje ke kumsolo wesibili ke ila manje kuvela ke itatimende lezo HH kanye no JJ izikhomba ke manje ukuqala umsolo wokuqala kanye naye futhi wesibili bese manje ke kufaka kanaye umsolo wesithathu wesine kanye nowesihlanu. Uma kuhlangana nofakazi bekungazibonaka ukuthi abasilekelele ukuthi manje asithole abasolo kodwa ke lokho bese kwenzekile ke.
And then furthermore, my lord, when that consultation in my recollection took place, Advocate Leonard and Market were not present. It was Advocate BALOI, the legal representative of Mrs. Kumalo, and us. Advocate Leonard, insofar as that specific consultation, those two advocates were not present, my lord.
Futhi ke kuloko kukhulumisana ke kwangalelo langa lokwenzeka ke kanye naye ke uMakhumalo abanye abashushisi laba babili babengekho ke uLeonard kanye naye ke uMaphathe kodwa kwakuyena ke uadvocate uBaloi kanye futhi nommeli wakhe ke uMakhumalo.
Yes, I'm done, my lord.
Thank you, Brigadier. So you're basically saying there were instances in the investigation of this case where the matter was, as it was investigated, was led by Advocate BALOI alone, and there were instances where it was led by Advocate BALOI with the two ladies. Is that what you're saying?
My Lord, my understanding, which was the same principle with us, I was identified as the lead investigating officer. Advocate BALOI from the start was clear that he will be the one leading the prosecution. So that is why even the point of contact, whenever we wanted to engage, I will speak to Advocate BALOI. That was made clear from the beginning. So there's no arrangement that I will have personally with either Advocate Makwate and Leonard. It was always through Advocate BALOI because he was identified as such a lead prosecutor in the matter.
Manje kuma sifikelela kulethimba ke elishushisayo ke nanjengoba bokwenzeka nakuthina amaphoyisa ukuthi mina ke ngaqoka nanjengo ilo ohola ithimba labaphenyi nakubashushisike kwakungena ke Advocate BALOI baseqaleni la sathela khona ukuthi uyena ke umshushisi oholayo.
Thank you, Brigadier. Well, it doesn't really matter whether at all material times they did a joint drill or they did a drill in a disjointed way. All that matters is what is now being presented to court. Do you understand?
Yes, but what I'm not so sure which part, my Lord. I'm simply presenting that there were these three advocates, but the lead prosecutor, which was identified, is Advocate BALOI. That's the essence of my answer.
Engisho mina ukuthi kwakunalabashushisi abathathu kodwa ke esatshelwa ukuthi uyena ke ohola ithimba lelo Advocate BALOI.
Thank you. Now, you were saying at the time when you interviewed Miss Makumari, the train had already left the station. You had already identified the perpetrators as being all the accused persons that are seated here at court. Is that what you just said?
Yes, that's what I said. They were already linked to this matter, my Lord.
Engisho ukuthi ngenkathi ke kune interview kanye naye ke uMaphumalo abasolwa ke phambi kwenkantolo babe sebehlanganiswa ke nalecala leli.
Are you then saying that what the witnesses who were in the house are saying about the identity of the perpetrators in their statement was of no value?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
And I think I dealt with this part, my Lord, that the identification does not simply rely on the ID parade. You need to look at it in that context. Identification can be by means of scientific evidence, eyewitnesses, and I can deal with it, my Lord, step by step. That's why I started from absolute Zungu. That is a form of identification. It doesn't mean that one must stand in front of a suspect in a line-up. The fact that someone mentions a particular person and identifies him, that is identification, my Lord. We get to the accused, statements are then obtained in form of a confession, then evidence is followed to corroborate that brings other accused into the picture. Evidence is found to support what they're saying. That is a form of identification. So an ID parade is not the only form of identifying someone. We did not rely on these witnesses because the evidence was there. They were pointers to identify the accused that are before court.
Engishoyo ukuthi kuhanjwe ke kuyomiswa ke abantu laphayana bese kuyokhonjwa ke akusiyona ke ukuphela kwendlela ke leyo ekhona la ekukhonjwa khona ke noma kushiwo ukuthi ibona ke noma uyena loyana esikhulumile ngaye ubaba uZungu ila khona ke amshoyo ashilo ukuthi ubani nobani bese kwatholakala istatement futhi ezikhasa khona ke lokho noma ke ehambelana nakho ke lokho okusho ukuthi ke zikhona ke ezinye indlela ke zokuthi ke ukhonjwe noma kushiwo ke ukuthi ubani noma wobani kungasiyona kuphela nje iID parade.
Thank you, Brigadier. Thank you, Brigadier.
And I think so, my Lord, just to add, and my view, my Lord, that is why the court will recall that I said even after the statements, confessions, documents were made, I was of the view that we should try and find, and that was a position that was taken to corroborate what was contained there, because one would want to get objective evidence than just to rely on someone who says, this is the person I saw, and then you leave it at that. It doesn't work like that, my Lord. Even when the accused himself implicates himself, you try to get evidence, or you must get evidence to corroborate what he's saying, and by getting objective but supporting evidence. That is how I'm of the view things should have been done, and that's why we did what we did, my Lord.
Futhi ke noma sekuwukuthi ke umsolwa ke ummangalelwa uyasho-ke ukuthi-ke yebo ngangiyingxenye ngangikhona-ke kodwa-ke awunciki nje kuloko kuphela-ke kuyingakho kufanele uhambe-ke uyobheka noma uthole-ke futhi obunye ubufakazi obuzohambisana nayo-ke leyo nto leyo ayishoyo yingakho-ke senza-ke ngendlela esenza ngayo.
Thank you, Brigadier. I want us to narrow my question or this issue. Are you then saying, because you've just said that when you interviewed these witnesses, the train has already left the station. Are you then saying what these witnesses are saying in their statement, which you read, could not have assisted you in any way to find a collaboration, to use your word, that the people which you have arrested were those people who got into the house on the 26th of November 2014? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's not what I'm saying, my lord.
Good.
So yeah, it's not what I'm saying, my lord. So perhaps let's understand when did I come in. This is not, because that example I think will apply on an investigating officer who starts the matter from the beginning, my lord. Where the matter is brought before you, then you build your case. And I think then this question that Advocate Mnisi is asking me will be relevant. It's not the same situation here. The case was already open.
Sorry. You say a question is relevant or irrelevant?
No, I'm saying in this matter.
Yes.
That example, so I'm saying there are two scenarios.
Yes.
Where if a matter is initiated and then you become the first investigating officer, the question that Mr. Advocate Mnisi is asking me will be relevant, my lord. But in this particular instance, where when I came in, there were various investigators. These witnesses gave statements to different investigating officers who dealt with this matter. Then my turn came where then this matter was given to me, my lord. You were not starting the matter from the beginning, and that is why I indicated that when I did the fact-finding mission, I relied on what was contained around, then later I went in to collaborate what was said outside. So it's not like a matter where it's at the initiation stage. The statements were speaking for themselves and indicating what was there, my lord. So there was a clear indication of where the investigation should go after one is made an objective position of saying, based on the evidence, there were intruders. So in trying to find the intruders, it was very clear. Otherwise, my lord, if one had to go to these witnesses, re-interview them, you'd have taken statements after statements, which was done in this matter. Some of these witnesses have given more than 2-3 statements. Now, there will be no need for me to do the same process, my lord, because they've been interviewed a numerous times by different investigating officers.
Manje-ke umbuzo loyo-ke ubuzoba umbuzo-ke kuwona-ke uma bekuwukuthi-ke noma sikhuluma lana-ke icala la khona-ke umseshi-ke noma-ke umphenyi unikezwa icala kusekuqaleni uqala-ke uphenyo lwakhe usehamba nalo. Kodwa-ke lana kwenzekile ukuthi abofakazi lana-ke bekunabaphenyi-ke ababekhona ngaphambi kwami, kukhulunyiwe nabo ofakazi, kuney'tatimende ey'thathiwe kubona. Abanye babo-ke labafakazi baney'tatimende ey'ndlulileke kwisitatimende esisodwa noma ey'mbili abazenza-ke, bese ngeke sibe khona-ke isidingo manje ukuthi ngiphinde futhi ngiyothatha ezinye iy'tatimende kubona-ke. Asikhulumi la ngophenyo obeluqala eqaleni, kodwa babekhona ababangaphambili kumina abenza-ke uphenyo.
Thank you, Brigadier. Let me further simplify my simple question. In simplification of my simple question, the simplified question would be, did the information and the interview that you had with the witnesses who were in their house assist you to find some form of a collaboration, to use your word, which could then have said to you, these are the people who were involved in the commission of the offense?
My lord, the corroboration, it was insofar as one, confirming that there were intruders, there were two, the description of the dreadlocks and the demands of money, cell phones and money, and I'm saying corroboration because obviously it was contained then in the confessions of both accused, by the way. So the corroboration, it was insofar as that, but none of the witnesses that were in the house were utilized to do a formal identification parade. These accused were linked by evidence that I've testified about, my lord, and 1 and 2 then also made confessions to that effect, my lord.
Lana-ke bengasukuthi-ke manje-ke ofakazi lana bekufuneka ukuthi baletheke noma bakhulumeke ngokumayelana-ke nokuthi obani-ke laba babekhona ukuqinisekisa nje ukuthi yebo nanjengoba kushiwo-ke ukuthi babekhona abantu abangena futhi-ke kuba khona itatimende lezi ezenziwa-ke umsolo wesibili kanye-ke nowokuqala ngokusho ukuthi-ke kwenzekani-ke noma ukuthi futhi babekhona abantu abangena besho-ke futhi kufuneka ama-cell phones kanye futhi nemali.
And my lord, I think I can understand where Advocate Mnisi is going, because I think my understanding, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I seem to be he's thinking of an approach where, and it's done, where you'll get a docket. Now to kick off in terms of identifying the suspect, you rely on the witnesses. A different approach was done on this matter, my lord. That is why I even said we started with a cold case analysis, identify individual, try to rely on objective and forensic evidence supported by witnesses that you can count on. So it's not the other way around where Advocate Mnisi thinks things would have kicked off. Yes, in an ideal situation, you would have kicked off from the witnesses before you even pursue the suspect to say, look, I've identified this, can you assist me? You build your case there. This was not the case, and I've indicated, my lord, why? Because of these two assertions that were there, or allegations. Then subsequently, when Absalom Zungu came into the picture, which was not associated to the people who were in the house, we worked on that angle and built a case from there up to the time that all the 5 accused, my lord, were arraigned.
Ngezwa-ke la ayakhona-ke noma-ke uhlangothi-ke ayakulona-ke u-Advocate Mnisi-ke kodwa-ke lana-ke akusona-ke indlela-ke ekwenzeka ngakhona-ke ngoba ngishilo ukuthi kwakunale iy'nsolo ezazikhona-ke ngabo ngathi-ke abameke ofakazi-ke ke ngithatha olunye uhlangothi la khona asengena khona-ke u-Absalom Zungu ila khona-ke ekwaholela ekuthini-ke bese kuboshwa abasolwa bobahlala.
Yes, my lord.
Thank you, Brigadier. You know, Brigadier, that is exactly your problem. You're trying to understand me. You're trying to read my mind. Don't do that. Understand the question that I am asking you. Because when you're going to try and read my mind, you'll never be able to do that. All that you can do, and I'm requesting you to do, is understand my question and respond to my question. Do you understand?
My lord, I understand, but I try to assist in responding when the same question is asked over and over and over again. Because then what it tells me is that what I'm telling the Advocate Mnisi, he doesn't understand it. And that is why I try then to explain and try to read as to where he's coming from, my lord. Because if you give one answer more than twice and you get the same question, clearly there's no understanding between us, my lord.
Ngezwa-ke kodwa-ke uma kuwukuthi-ke uzobuzwa-ke umbuzo wodwa-ke uphindaphindwa-ke lokho kusho ukuthi-ke khona-ke ungazwani okukhona-ke ingakho bese ngichaza uma ngiphendula.
Thank you. Now, my simple question, Brigadier. Remember I said to you, I'm going to simplify my simple question to you and oppose it in the following way. Did the information that is contained in the statement of the witnesses who were in the house and the subsequent interview that you had with those people in the house assist you to find a collaboration that you were looking for in order to tie these accused persons with the commissioner? That was my simple question. I'm still trying, to decipher what your answer is in the paragraph that you've just given. Thank you, madam.
Yes, my lord. I think we've been harping on the same strings the better part of the day. Brigadier GININDA is here to give evidence. It's not his duty to answer questions as to, identity. Evidence has been presented before court as far back as 1972 in the Mtetwa cases. The issue of the identity will be argued before this court. It's not, we submit, my lord, that it's not for Brigadier GININDA to have to answer questions regarding identity. He presents evidence, and it's for the court to make a call and for counsel to argue on the question of identity, not this witness, my lord. We submit that it will serve no purpose, as we've indicated, to keep on asking this witness on the issue of identity.
As it pleases the court, my lord, I think the state is miles away from where we are. I am not saying that this witness must try to give an identity of those witnesses. This is an investigating officer. The investigating officer comes and tells this court that I am alive to the fact that this case, that at the core of this case is a question of identity. And in order for me to say with certainty that these accused persons that are before court here, I interviewed those people who were in their house and I asked them questions that are relevant to identification of a person who committed this thing. I'm not saying to Mr. Gininda, how did the suspect so look like? No, I'll never do that. I know it's not you, but you are an investigating officer. I know Mtetwa. And in fact, Mtetwa does not state the issues that have been raised by my colleague. I'll come and deal about Mtetwa later on. I know Mtetwa by heart. I don't even have to refer in the book of what Mtetwa is saying. But at the core of my question is, in you trying to find a collaboration that these are the accused persons, these are the correct suspects that are before court, what information did you rely on? That is the reason why I'm asking you. Did the statement that were given by the people who were in the house, number one. Number two, did the interview that you had with the people who were in the house when this incident happened assist you to find a collaboration in order to pin this accused person in the commission of the offense or not? That is all that I want to know from you, Brigadier. I'm not saying identify the people. You and me were not there. Exactly. So I'll be the dumbest and the dumbest of all the dumbiest to ask you that question. I'll never do that. Please understand me in that context. And I beg my colleague to understand me in that context. And I beg the court as well to understand me in that context. Thank you. Now I'm not so sure, my lord, whether I need to proceed with this, whether there should be a response from my colleague. Oh, thank you. There is silence from my colleague. So basically, that is my question, sir.
My lord, so the collaboration, I think I've dealt with it as well. Both evidence in chief, and I think when I was dealing also with Mr. Ramsepil, my lord, I did indicate, and I'll go straight to accused number 3, Mr. Advocate Mrs. Slide, that when his name came up, then we had to pursue Cleveland case 9602-2015. Now, when we read, I'll deal with the cell phone, for example, that when the photos that were taken on the date, according to the encryption on, for example, on the date of the 26th, where accused 3, you can see him wearing a khaki top. I did say, my lord, previously that you could corroborate that with what was contained in the statements of 1 or 2 witnesses who were in the house, who said one of the intruders with the dreadlocks was wearing a khaki or brownish jacket. So I've referred, as I was testifying, my lord, I referred to what we found and corroborated that with the statements of the people who were in the house. I think I did get to that effect, my lord.
Ngikhulumile-ke uma sikhuluma-ke manje ngokuthi-ke ukuhlanganisa lokho nako nalokho-ke okutshelwayo-ke ibona-ke ubufakazi. Angiye-ke kuyena-ke umtholo wesithathu-ke omele uyena-ke u-advocate umnisi ukuthi uma ngaba igama lakhe selivela-ke manje kuyobhekwa-ke icala leli lase-Cleveland ila kwatholakala khona-ke manje kuyithombe lezi zatholakala ukuthi wayenama-dreadlocks egqoke-ke futhi-ke beige noma-ke ubrown okuyilokho-ke futhi okushiwo ilapho-ke abantu besendlini ukuthi-ke omunye wayenama-dreadlocks egqoke-ke okwakubrown noma okwakubeige ngombala. Uma ngikhuluma-ke ngokuhlangana-ke noma-ke ngezinto noma khulunywa into eyodwa ngikhuluma ngako kona lokho.
I've had, my lord, recall that I've mentioned that there was assertions in the statements of the people in the house, because that's what we're focusing on, that the perpetrators or the intruders demanded cell phones and money. That was corroborated by Exhibit HA and JJ. Just referring just to the two, not going to accuse one, my lord.
Ngikhulumile noma ngishilo-ke futhi ukuthi-ke kubantu ababesendlini-ke bashilo ukuthi laba bangena-ke bafuna-ke ama-cellphones kanye nemali. Lokho-ke uyakuthola-ke laphayana-ke ku-HH kanye naye-ke u-JJ khuluma ngayo umsolo wesibili hhayi owokuqala.
Now, A number 58. Miss Makumalo, Gladness Kumalo, narrates this incident the same way as it has been narrated before court by Madala, the other Twala, not the Twala that was apparently shot on the leg, but that should be the other Twala. What is the name? Thomas Twala, I want to say Thomas Twala. Same way in which it was also narrated by Sali Kumar, that they were indeed, as they were seated there, they were accosted by two unknown people in the evening when they were seated in their dining room. That is basically the story. That is what Ms. Makumalo is also confirming. You see. Now, as I have told you, that what is at the core of this case is the identity of the perpetrators. The investigating officer who took down this statement had it in mind to ask Ms. Makumalo and say to her, Ms. Makumalo, because you saw this thing, it happened in your house, it was there, you gave me how it happened. Now let us come to the identity of these perpetrators. That is at the core, that is what is at the core of this trial. And this is what Makumalo said. I don't want to read the whole statement to avoid prolixity, you see, because we don't dispute what these other witnesses have said. That is A number 58. I know that procedurally I need to authenticate this statement. But it would be a fallacy if the state says, yeah, no. If the state says what is owning this statement, we don't know whether the statement was made by Ms. Makumalo or not, because we got it from them. Otherwise, they should have annotated to us, they should have indicated to us and drew up all the list of the statements that they would have required us to authenticate and said, no, this one's not in our name. You must authenticate. We're distancing ourselves from these statements. I had one judge expressing that view, and it was a very intelligent view, that the state cannot give you information, come back and say you need to authenticate it. Otherwise, they are saying what is owning that information. I just forgot the name of the judge, but it's going to come up very quick. I realize that my colleague has got an issue to take up.
As a court, please, my lord, the rules of evidence are clear and they must be complied with. It's got nothing to do with the state. Statements are discovered to the defense. It's now for the defense, if they want to use those statements, to follow the rules of evidence. It's got nothing to do with the state disavowing a statement or whatever. That's what the rules of evidence dictate, my lord.
As it pleases the court, my lord, it has got everything to do with the state's genuineness in assisting this court to come to a just and equitable finding. The state cannot send, my lord, out a team of investigators and say, go get us information. And the team of investigators bring back statements and say, this is the type of investigation that we have found. And then later on the state does disclosure or give the state that information. And during the trial, the state says no. When the defense wants to use that information, then the state says no, you must authenticate it. It does not work out like that. We got it from them. Unless the state says we don't believe in this statement, then that would be something else. But nonetheless, my lord, nonetheless, I know there is a question. I am going to request that I provisionally be permitted to use this statement to pursue my line of cross-examination with a sincere belief that if the state proceeds with its argument that we need to authenticate this statement, we will then be calling the person who made this statement, for instance, Katniss Kumar. But I'm requesting, my Lord, that I be provisionally be permitted to proceed with my line of cross-examination with the understanding that later on I'll be calling Ms. Makumaro if the state persists that I need to call her. Thank you.
That's, you know the rules of evidence.
Yes, my Lord.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. So
that is what I'm saying. That's part of the rules of evidence.
Proceed as you understand them.
As it please the court, my Lord. Thank you. Brigadier.
Yes, my Lord.
As I have said, that I want to be going through the whole statement because that is not what I'm interested in. I'm only interested in paragraph 6 of that statement.
Yes, my Lord, I'm listening.
Thank you. I realize that you might be tired of reading. I'm going to read the content of this paragraph 6 into record myself.
Yes,
Thank
my
you.
Lord.
It reads as follows. I then saw the kitchen door opening slowly, and an unknown black male came in carrying a firearm. He was wearing a hat, but I cannot tell what color it was. He was also wearing a beige jacket. Another unknown black male then entered the house. The first one that was carrying a firearm had short dreadlocks that hang up to his neck. Amen. Close brackets. That is what I'm interested in. Do you follow?
Yes, I followed the sentence, my Lord. What was read to me, I
It's not
do
a
follow.
sentence.
I mean the paragraph.
It's the paragraph, yes.
Yeah, well, it's not done. It's not the complete paragraph, but I followed basically, my Lord, what the Advocate Nesi is saying.
Thank you. That is all that I'm interested in. I may repeat it for the sake of brevity.
No.
But I don't need to.
I think we understand each other.
Thank you.
I've got a statement in front of me, so
Thank
I
you,
understand.
thank you, Brigadier. Now, what Mrs. Makumalo is doing here is basically describing the suspect. Sorry. Actually, one of the suspects that she saw on that day, particularly the one that was carrying the firearm, in which the state drums so hardly and wants this court to believe that it is accused number 3. But let us analyze the description that Makumalo actually gave with regard to the suspect that was carrying the firearm. She says the first one that was carrying a firearm had short dreadlocks that hang up to his neck. Now, having read this statement as an investigator, and having come to this paragraph, and having shown that Mrs. Makumalo says that the first suspect that was carrying the firearm had short dreadlocks that hang up to his neck. Were there any further questions that you asked her in relation to the to her identification of the suspect?
So my Lord, firstly, I think, and I'll say that I think maybe Advocate try to speak loud. I'm saying, I think Advocate Nesi missed this part because I did deal with it, my Lord, that the witnesses who were in the house, they made different statements. Now, for example, the statement that I'm referred to is A58 of Ms. Letnes Kumalo. The first statement she made is A12. If you look at what we've disclosed to them, it's A12. That's the first statement. So that is why it's important to look at each statement and so that one can follow when this one was made, it was in relation to what. The first statement that was made after the incident happened, it was day after, 27th of November 2014. There she simply describes the dreadlocks, and we can go to it because it's a very short statement. She simply says one of the intruders had dreadlocks. She doesn't describe, it's contained in this statement, whether they were up to the neck or not. That is the first statement she made a day just after the incident, few hours. This one that Advocate Ms. is referring to was made in November, days later, and this was, I think, in preparation of the ID parade that they were trying to look at, if my memory serves me correctly, my lord, in relation to this Mr. Mbata I was talking about. So that is why I'm saying you need to look into it in that context. Now, when you analyze the two statements, my lord, you cannot then say you want now to rely on the one that says the dreadlocks were up to the neck and ignore the other one where she says the person had dreadlocks, because in both statements she doesn't, and I'm talking specific with regard to Advocate Mrs. Slide, nowhere does she say it's accused 3 specifically. She simply describes that one of the intruders, the one that was wearing a beige jacket, and other witnesses, and when we get to them you'll see that, my lord, they'll say a brown jacket, was simply having dreadlocks. So in one statement she says dreadlocks, in the other one she says up to the neck. So you've got 2 descriptions of dreadlocks. The bottom line, what I was saying, my lord, in collaboration when I was asked by Advocate Minister, is that you can see indeed that accused 3 on the 26th of October 2014 had dreadlocks. That's the essence of my answer insofar as the dreadlocks are concerned.
Kule statement lesakhe-ke uMakhumalo kufundeka ngale ndlela-ke ithi lo owokuqala owayephethe ispam wayenama-dreadlocks amafishane ayephelela khona la emqaleni noma entanyeni-ke. Ingaba khona-ke omunye umbuzo owalandela-ke uma esho lokhu uMakhumalo. Impendulo ithi-ke uma ubheka lesi istatement u-A58 esenziwa-ke ngoNovemba kwawo-ke unyaka lowo wesigameko, sikhona-ke istatement sokuqala-ke asenza uMakhumalo wona, sona-ke wasenza-ke kwilanga elilandelayo ngazo i-27, lapho-ke ukhuluma nje kuphela-ke ngama-dreadlocks-ke. Manje uma sikhuluma-ke manje ngalokuhlanganisa-ke noma ukuthola-ke lokhu okuhlanganayo-ke okushiwo yibona-ke noma-ke okukhulunywa yibona-ke abantu noma-ke bona-ke ofakazi laba, siyazi-ke ukuthi ngeyi-26 zika-October 2014 yena-ke amele u-Advocate Mnisi unumber 3 wayenawo-ke ama-dreadlocks. Manje-ke awukwazi ukuthi ubheke lesi kuphela-ke istatement u-A58 ungasibhekanga esinye lesi engikhuluma ngaso. Uma ngaphazami-ke futhi cabanga ukuthi lesi istatement uma ngabe sasenziwa-ke kwakulungiselelwa-ke i-ID parade le eyayizoba khona.
Yes, my lord. And the A12 was made, like I said, my lord, basically few hours after the incident happened, because it's basically the following day. It was commissioned on the 27th of October 2014 at 1500 hours. She was narrating what she saw. She described the person with dreadlocks, not that they're on the neck. A month later, couple of weeks, because it's November, then she says they were up to the neck. But like I said, my lord, it was in relation, insofar as I can recall, to the ID parade. And that is why I'm emphasizing that you can't now say this is now the proper identification of the person with the dreadlocks, because then what do you say about the one that she made just few hours after the incident happened?
Ngoba lesi-ke sona-ke sangeyi-27 amahora nje ambalwa-ke emuva kokuthi isigameko senzeka-ke la khona nje akhuluma kuphela-ke ngama-dreadlocks. Ingakho ngisho-ke manje-ke ukuthi awukwazi ukuthi ungathatha nje nalesi-ke la asho ukuthi ama-dreads aphela kuphi-ke, kodwa lesi-ke usishaye indiva sona-ke.
Yes, my lord, that's my answer.
Thank you, Brigadier.
Hi family, this is Zebra Family Channel. Have you subscribed, family? Don't forget to subscribe, family. Let's talk about BALOI, Zungu, and Brigadier GININDA. Laba bantu laba yibo aba-constructor icala leli. Because when you listen to Brigadier GININDA, let's connect the dots here. Looking at Brigadier GININDA when he's being cross-examined by Advocate Mnisi. Advocate Mnisi was consistently asking Brigadier GININDA about the statements of the people in the house. What is it that he got from that statement that made him, or that can connect the 5 accused from the eyewitnesses, which are the people Zandi, Dumelo, Longwes, Kelly's mother, and the others, because there were 7 in the house. When he was asking this question, he didn't want to answer the question, Brigadier GININDA. He was always running away, trying to avoid the question. But Mnisi, because of his brilliance, he kept on hammering on that statement until GININDA said it was useless, because he didn't trust the people in the house. It was useless to go back to use those statements of those people, because already the train had left. It means already he is arrested. How did he arrest? Let's look at the bigger picture now. Because Brigadier GININDA has blown the secret that they were working with BALOI to construct this case. So there's a third person that he didn't want to name, but he ended up naming it in a certain way. That is Zungu, when he talk about the train that has already left. Because the information they got, which means he got information from Zungu, which means when we flash back following the case, we remember Zungu was given a car, a police car. He went with that police car to the hostel. So when we try to connect that, it means this guy was scouting for people that he can use to pin down so that he can report them to GININDA. That this guy is then he constructed something from the hostel, then pinned these guys. Because remember, he was given a car, and that question came up in court. He was asked. They even wanted the tracker for that car to understand if it did get into the hostel. Because he was out of duty, but he was given a car. Because this thing is flashing back now, as GININDA has blown the secret out now, that everything he was doing it with BALOI. So that's why they end up pushing the case 375, because they were working with BALOI and Zungu. And Zungu, how Zungu enters here, the train has already left. Brigadier GININDA didn't want anything to do with the people who were in the house. He didn't trust them. We are connecting dots now here. He didn't trust them. So if he didn't trust the people who were in the house, the eyewitnesses, and he trusted Zungu, who gave that information to him, who was not in the scene of crime, then link up some other few people who were neighbors there. But the gist of the story is Zungu, who caused this arrest of these 5 accused. Then we go to Mziako. How Mziako come into the picture? There is a game that is being played here, even in the confession. There is a game, a very big game. But the cat is about to be out of the sack. It's going to be out soon. Because the line of question that is coming from Advocate Mnisi will really give us an idea how the picture of Mziako. How did Mtanzi got the number of Mziako to send a message to Mziako, please call me? How? How did the number link up to Mtanzi? Mtanzi didn't have a phone. According to GININDA, that if you get arrested, you cannot have your belongings. You are disconnected to the outside world. Everything that you communicate, you have to communicate through the police. Okay, we see all this game that is being played here. Okay, now, there comes Mnisi with his brilliance again. He read Makumalo's statement. I think it was paragraph 6, whereby he read about the identification of Makumalo, of the so-called intruders that enters the house. He mentioned dreads that were up to the neck, not to the shoulders, up to the neck. We know accused number 3's dreads were up to the shoulders, not to the neck. So now there are 2 statements there. One statement, pay attention to this. One statement, it was made as soon as the next day, when Makumalo's memory was still fresh. She made that statement that the person who entered had this kind of look. He had dreadlocks up to the neck. Why I say pay attention to this? Because Brigadier GININDA started arguing, because there are 2 statements. In the other statement, she didn't say, Makumalo, that the dreads were up to what size. Then, because of the cleverness of Brigadier GININDA, wants to use the statements, because he said you can't read paragraph 6 and don't read the following one, the following statement, because you have to read them together. And the following one was earlier than the one that Advocate Mnisi was reading. My question comes to this now, with the brilliance of Advocate Mnisi towards the dullness of this IO. Remember, the gun, eyewitnesses. Now, I'm trying to compare this to eyewitnesses now. Makumalo was an eyewitness who had 2 statements. There is Longwe Twala. I think it's Mtokozisi, the other one, who talked about the gun that had a wheel. But I know Longwe did talk about a gun that had a wheel. So those were eyewitnesses. But Brigadier GININDA didn't want to trust these people who were eyewitnesses who saw the gun. He decided to go to Cleveland and get a 9mm. That is the gun they got with the ballistic guy. What is his name? Mangena or whatever. It's Mangena, I think. He went to collect the gun in Cleveland police station, which is a 9mm. It's not the gun that was seen by the people who were in the scene of crime, which was a gun with a wheel, black and old. That doesn't click, and it's going to come back and bite him, because now he has to revise the statement that he has made about this. Because eyewitnesses, when their mind was still fresh, they saw a gun with a wheel, not this 9mm that they are bringing up on the picture. I hope, family, I'm trying to explain this as clear as possible so that one can understand that this case is a fabricated case. There's nothing. And now you can see the facial appearance of Judge Rata. He doesn't look happy. As soon as he realized that BALOI and Brigadier GININDA were the one who were constructing this case, because by mistake, Brigadier GININDA blew the horn, not realizing what that horn was going to cause. You could even see when Rata is looking, when he's listening to Brigadier GININDA, he's no more the bubble judge who always have this kind of defense and do this and no. Maybe today he will start doing that, but in this case, he was a different guy. Family, what do you think about this? Just drop your own comments towards what I have just... I'm trying to connect the puzzle here, because looking at what is happening, following the case, understanding what is happening in the case, because eyewitnesses were never trusted by GININDA, but he went to Zungu. BALOI, it's Zungu, BALOI, then Brigadier. These are the main constructor of this case, because what led these people to be arrested, it is Zungu, through BALOI. Remember, Zungu was given a car to go to the hostel. He was given a government car after work to go with the car. What was the mission? That's the question we should ask ourselves. Family, I will not waste your time. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Nyantanda nonke Andy. I love you all. And I want to leave this message to all YouTubers who are part of this case, who are exposing all these kind of shenanigans that are going on in this court. I really applaud you for doing what a remarkable job, because if we don't do this, who is going to do for us and for our future kids? They must find the country straight. If we don't do it, nobody will do us. We are bringing change to the justice system by exposing all these dirty things that are happening in our justice system. Ngiyanithanda nonke ngothando lukaLove. Ngithi kini bantu bakithi noma ngabe izindlu zodaka kusekhaya lapha. Usenzokalalanga ukucenga amadolo until the right culprits are brought to justice. And it's when the family will get closure and he will rest in peace. Bravo, bravo, bravo.